It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles, and you're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show. This is Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. A packed show this morning. It's the last day of this week's historic races at PIR. If you want to go out there and have extra fun, you want to stay tuned, because we will tell you how you can actually get to drive a Jaguar F-Type and your chance to take a Land Rover off-road at PIR today. We'll also want to introduce you to Tigert Auto Repairs, Tigert SUV Automotive Repairs. They are a client that we trust. We'll have some insight into how to get the best out of your repair shop. But first, the Forest Grove Concours d'Elegance returns for the 43rd year on Sunday, July 19th, which is a week from today. It is in the tree-shaded historic campus of Pacific University in Forest Grove. And joining us on the phone is Alan Stevens from the Concours d'Elegance. He is the chairperson. And Alan, welcome to the show. Tell me what we can expect to see at the event next week.
Well, we're going to have over 300 classic and sports cars on display out of Pacific University. I just was looking at our entry list. We actually have about 330 automobiles, which is sort of a record for us. And so the spectators that come out will be able to see a spectrum of automotive history, ranging from what we call full classics, or classic automobiles built between 1925 and 1948, all the way up to modern supercars, including a 2014 Ferrari FF and a 2015 Mercedes MG Black Series. So there's a little something for everybody next weekend out at Forest Grove. How
did you know that the Ferrari FF was my favorite car? Did you get that specially in for me?
I did a little research. I talked to your staff. We wanted to make sure there's something out there that you would appreciate. If you think about the Ferrari 2+2 cars, which is for the four-seat Ferrari, we're going to have one of almost every generation of the Ferrari 2+2 cars, ranging from a 1966 330 GT 2+2 all the way up to the Ferrari FF.
Now, so all these cars Oregon-based, or do they come to the event from all over the country?
So I would say 75% of the cars are based here in Oregon or Southwest Washington. We do get quite a few cars out of the Seattle area. We have quite a few of our Grand Classics are coming down Seattle. We also attract automobiles from California. We have several cars from Northern California, a few from Idaho, and I was told we have a car coming from as far away as Maryland. So we do attract quite a few cars from outside the Portland area.
Now, let's talk about classes of cars. What are some of the classes of cars we'll see? Obviously, you talked about supercars on one end and classic cars on the other. How do you classify these vehicles together in a group?
Yeah, so what we do is we look at the year of manufacture, and we also look at different marks. So starting from antique automobiles, which is our earliest class, from the beginning of automotive history through 1915. So those are really brass era vehicles. Then we have what we call classic cars, which is defined by the Classic Car Club of America. And those are generally from 1925 to 1948. Then we get into, then the automobile history really started to get interesting post-World War II, and so we start to break it out by marks. So we have Chrysler, General Motors, Ford. We also have classes for Porsche, Ferrari, Mercedes-Benz, and then this year we also have a special class for Japanese sports cars. So as automotive to diversify and more marks started to come on the scene later in the 20th century, you'll see more classes for those types of cars. We have about 50 classes of automobiles at Forest Grove, including a class for vintage motorcycles as well.
Excellent. Now, most famous Concours d'Elegance is probably Pebble Beach. Most people will know that. But you guys have been around for 43 years. Did it grow from one or two guys getting together every year to these 330 cars? What's the 43-year history been like?
Yeah, so the event was started in 1973 by the Forest Grove Rotary Club. My father was one of the founders out in Forest Grove that got the ball rolling. And what they were looking to do is raise money for Forest Grove Rotary Club scholarships and community service projects. And their previous fundraiser at the time was selling roses. You know, if you could imagine going door to door and selling. Well, my father was a car guy, and he got together with a few other car guys and gals around Portland and put on the first event in 1973. The first event that year did not make any money, but fortunately, he was able to rally enough support through the Rotary Club, through a few local car owners, that they got the green light to do it the next year, and then it really started to take off, and it got momentum, and we've been going every year for the last 43 years.
Now, let's talk about some of the cars that we're going to see out there. You've mentioned some at the top end. What are the oldest cars that tend to show up at your event?
The oldest cars that will show up at our event, I'm just looking at our entry list right now. If you look at antique automobiles, if you think about, pre-1910, we actually have three pre-1910 automobiles. There's a 1904 Rambler coming out of Washington. We have a 1909 Pope Hartford, which is owned by a couple here from Aloha, Oregon, which comes out every year. It's a fascinating car. And we also have a 1909 Cadillac that's coming.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about the expensive end of the cars. Are we talking about close to $250,000? What are the prices of some of these rare automobiles?
Yeah, so we do have on the upper end of the spectrum, in our modern supercar class, we have a 2013 Lamborghini Gallardo, a 2012 McLaren MP412C. A 2005 Ford GT. As you know, Nick, the Ford GTs have really come up in value. Those are getting upwards of $300,000 now. We have what I would say some classic supercars. We have an early 90s vintage Ferrari Testarossa, sort of the Vice type Ferrari, and those are really starting to catch fire on the value spectrum, and those are worth upwards of probably over $100,000.
All right, so tell me, let's talk, Alan, about tickets, prices, where, when, and how, so people can come out to the show and enjoy it. Absolutely.
So tickets are available for advance purchase on our website at forestgroveconcours.org. Advance tickets are available for $17 for adults, $15 for seniors, $5 for children. And then after the 15th of July, you can buy them at the gate. It's $20 for an adult. And it's $18 for seniors, $7 for children. All children under the age of 12 are free. It's really a great event to bring the whole family to. What you see out there is you'll see grandfathers, grandparents bringing their kids, who then bring their kids. So you'll see three generations of families walking around looking at cars. And I think every family can remember a car that, that granddad had growing up, or that your father or mother drove when you were a kid. So it's really a neat experience for a family to go out and enjoy the day.
The most exciting news about the Forest Grove Concours d'Elegance is the fact that Tess Miles will be there next week to broadcast live from the event. So our whole crew is going out there. We're going to share the experience with you. And, of course, if people would come down and say hi and come and look at some of the cars with us, we want to be talking to, obviously, you, Alan, and the whole crew down there and some of the specialists. But this is really exciting. Normally, we just venture outside of the studios for maybe foreign trips or special events or the Portland Auto Show. So this is the first time I'm ever going to have been to the Forest Grove Concours d'Elegance. It's going to be super exciting. You're going to show us a good time next weekend?
Yes, we are. We have a special spot reserved for your crew, so you can see the whole show. We will line up some of our special guests and a few entrants for you. I'm also hoping we can fire up some of the supercars are going to be parked in front of your area, so people can actually hear, what a Ferrari Testarossa sounds like or what a Porsche 935 sounds like. So it's going to be a fun day.
Just warning you, don't give me the keys. You may never see it again. Alan, thanks so much for being on the show. We're looking forward to the Forest Grove Concours d'Elegance next weekend. Get your tickets, come out and see the crew here live. When we come back, we're going to stay on the genre of historic cars. Historic races last day at PIR today, but we're going to tell you how you can actually get to drive a brand new Jaguar F-Type and any Land Rover product that they have out there on an off-road course. Exclusively coming up here next on Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101. Test Miles, like NASCAR, but with one right turn. TestMiles.com.
Welcome back to Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL, automotive radio show live from our studios in downtown Portland. For all the latest automotive news, follow us on Twitter at Test Miles.
Here's a fun fact you can impress your friends with. The very first Concours d'Elegance was held on November 4th, 1950.
And Brad, who is absent today, was clearly there at that time because it's old man Brad. All right, classic cars are an investment. They can be money well spent. Over the last 10 years, the price of classic cars has risen by over 450%. But unlike art and gold, classic cars bought as an investment have to be driven to increase their value. After all, who wants to buy a classic car that doesn't run, right? So it's not surprising that the growth of classic sports cars and classic cars has increased the classic car sports car races. The Sports Vintage Racing Association is putting on races all over the country to exercise those cars and give them a workout. The vintage races have been taking place at PIR for the last 3 days, and today is the last day. If you head out to PIR today, there's a very cool opportunity for you. You can drive a new Jaguar F-Type around the autocross, and you can take a Land Rover and experience it off-road on their off-road course. We've kidnapped David Jones, professional Jaguar driver, and Bob Burns, professional Land Rover driver. They're in the studio to tell us about this experience. Guys, welcome to the show. So let's talk about the experience. David, we'll start with you a little bit. You're putting people you don't know in cars that are valued over $65,000, $75,000 on a track.
Nick, I'm a race car driver, so I take risk, many risk. No,
to me that sounds like a huge risk.
It's it's a wonderful opportunity. First off, for Jaguar Land Rover to have a great partnership with the Vintage Sports Car Series, and we go to various different racetracks around. As a spectator coming in to watch the races and to see the historic cars and to have an opportunity to drive an F-Type Jaguar or a Land Rover is really something special. You don't only come in to see the races, but you get an opportunity to personally drive yourself.
All right, let's walk through the Jaguar section because it's different for both cars. The sign-up's pretty much the same, but what you do with them is very different, clearly, very different vehicles. So I show up at the vintage races, I watch a few races, I have a good time. Then how do I get into one of your cars?
Well, you just you have to have a valid driver's license. You sign up. There's a little bit of a queue, or a line, as we say, to take a few laps around a really nice track that we set up on the inside paddock inside the track. And
so you sign up with the Jaguar Land. You go to the Jaguar Land Rover tent.
Right.
And you sign up, and then they take us over to this special area you've set up?
Correct.
And then what happens?
And then we take you over to it's a 2016 F-Type R Coupe, all-wheel drive Jaguar, 5-liter V8 supercharged, 550 horsepower. We explain just a little bit about the car, and then you're off. You drive it around. We do like a nice mediocre lap, just kind of learning where the track goes that we laid out. And then the next lap we ask you to pick it up just a notch, and it's just a few laps that we take. But the beautiful thing about it, Nick, is that with the Jaguar, I mean, you sit in this car, you adjust the seat, that you feel like you're a part of the car. And with just a few laps around the autocross tracks, I mean, we're talking maybe 2 miles in length, the whole experience, you feel a part of the car. You feel like the car is giving you great feedback. We've got you accelerating, feeling the torque, feeling the horsepower, how wonderful the brakes are, how the car just has tons of grip, going through the course left and right. And best of all is that not only myself, but we have other, great race drivers that are sitting right seat with you, explaining to you, just brake a little bit firmer, just wait, just patient, just let that weight just transfer a second or two when you turn in, before you give it a little bit of acceleration.
You get a free lesson too, then.
It's like we're your personal driver coach, where we're coaching you along to really get the best experience possible on how awesome these cars are.
All right, so I show up, I'm over 21, I have a valid driver's license, I'm on the track with you, you're giving me some coaching. We actually did this yesterday. Sean and I went out and we spent time with both of you guys, and we had the whole Jaguar Land Rover experience. So I think I had a time of 23.7 seconds. That's pretty horrible, right?
That was a good start. Good start, but
good start for a 12-year-old. Don't have a license yet, baby.
Yeah, I mean, when you came out, Nick, we had a bit of fun. We were timing the first day, but for the yesterday and today, we've added a few more laps to the session, and we've kind of taken away the timing just because it is a great experience. We want you to enjoy the drive.
All right, so there's a lot of corners in there. There's a bit of chicane that you've set up just with cones, not with anything I could actually damage the car with. So you're getting a full experience of the car. So acceleration on the straightaway, braking and cornering, and then some steering stuff through the chicane. How many times, like with me, you didn't have any cones to set back up? But do you have someone that sets the cones back up?
It's rare that we have. I mean, honestly, people get in the car and they're just in wow on how awesome the F-Type Jaguar is, and they respect the car, and they listen to us and what we do, and we want them to drive the car. We don't want them to overdrive the car. We want them to drive the car, really enjoy it. So we coach them along, and for that reason, everything's in control, and it's in a safe environment.
Are these specially set up race cars, or are these as I would buy it right at the dealership?
These are just as you would buy them from a dealership. We do absolutely nothing to them.
Really?
And you are just blown away by the amount of grip that they have, the acceleration, how awesome the brakes are. They really are a wonderful car. And what's new with the F-Type, R Coupe this year, over 2015 model year, is now they're available in all-wheel drive only. What's unique about our all-wheel drive system is we're 100% rear-wheel drive, and we only get assist from the front wheels as needed. So we got all the dynamic balance in the car, all the dynamic feel of a rear-wheel drive, but you got all the benefits of an all-wheel drive as needed. We've got a lot of things. We got torque vectoring by braking. We've got electronic differentials. There's a lot of driver aids, a lot of safety aids that's built into the car. That it really tends to make you a better driver than what you tend to think you are.
Excellent. All right, we're heading up to the news here at 10:30. When we get back from the news, we'll talk a little bit more about what time it goes to. We'll have Bob on to talk about the Land Rover segment. You're listening to Test Miles. That is how you test drive your Jaguar F-Type. We'll repeat the information in case you want to do it. Coming up, the news with Anna. I'm Nick Miles.
Throw it in neutral and coast in with testmiles.com.
Live from our studios downtown Portland Sunday morning, this is America's Car Radio Show. We thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, just go to our Facebook page. It's Test Miles ENT.
Here's a fun fact so you can impress your friends. The SVRA is one of the oldest vintage racing organizations in the U.S. and was founded in 1981 by Ford Haycock III.
Excellent. All right, let's talk more about the vintage races that are going on and your opportunity to drive a Jaguar Land Rover. Dave Jones is here, professional driver for Jaguar. Bob Burns, professional driver for the Land Rover Experience. And they're in the studio talking about how you can today only, get out to PIR to the vintage races. It costs you $20 to get in, by the way. And then you will have the opportunity to drive either a Jaguar F-Type around the autocourse, autocross course or a Land Rover vehicle on the off-road course. Bob, open till 3 o'clock, is that right? 3 o'clock-ish?
3 o'clock-ish. We're a little more friendly than that if we
right.
have a big line.
So 3 o'clock, you can do that too. So Bob, we have been friends for a long time. You chaperoned me a few years ago, 5 years ago, through the experience in Manchester, I think, Vermont. Your team is a pretty strong team of off-roaders. What's the course you set up for everybody out at PIR?
Well, we're kind of lucky to find some dirt in downtown Portland, basically, and it's our first joint effort at SVRA. So as all the blacktop, all the pavement work is going on, we have the Thursday night motocross track at PIR at our disposal to run Land Rovers off-road. So we've got Range Rover Sport, and LR4. And some of the best off-road drivers in the world to show you how they work in the off-road world.
What are we going to see? What are we going to have the cars do? If you go out there, I did this yesterday again. What is the customer who comes out to you today and wants to drive one of your vehicles around the course? What are they going to experience?
Similar to the Jaguar experience, you've got to be 21. Come on in, get signed up, and stand in hopefully a short line. And we'll get you out with an instructor, just like the track experience. You'll have an instructor in the right seat, showing you all the features of the Land Rovers, hill descent control and terrain response. And I think we have a decent course to show what they're capable of out there, just some good side tilts and hill climbs.
It's the interesting thing about, we talked about this a little earlier on, but there's sort of several stages to this, is with Davey, things are very sweaty very quickly. And with you can probably see the problems coming because somebody's in the wrong position as they come up the hill. And it's much more rhythmic for you to correct it. But these Land Rovers, the modern Land Rovers, they make it kind of easy. I mean,
they do make it easy. I think what we find is we get Davy's crew over that have just done, move the speedometer to the right side, and we tell you speedometer's not needed on this one. You can probably walk this a little quicker, but it's a little more out of their element. On the street, on the track, they do that every day. They go to work in a car, and they feel a little more comfortable. It's funny how out of sorts people get at 1 mile an hour in the dirt, a little surprised at a 20, 30-degree side tilt. So I think it's an equal playing ground.
One of the things I think that's so great about these vehicles is that side tilt. So when you put a Land Rover on the course there, you can be above the passenger. If you're in the driver's seat, you're actually physically above the passenger, looking down at them below you, and the vehicle's just like whatever. It's like butter.
Absolutely. So I think it's important to work with the driving instructors to. The vehicles can give a false sense of security, really make you a superstar effortlessly. So we, on the side tilt, we say, the day you get comfortable doing this, don't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I noticed doing it yesterday after sitting in the seat with Davey for 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so, is coming onto your course is, you really have to reset your mind. You got to hit that reboot button, because the first thing I did was put my foot down and my head's almost hitting the roof because I'm going over the bumps too fast.
Absolutely. It's all about traction. So if we get a little rain out there, a little mud today, it's applying that traction again on the side tilts and the hill climbs. So there's, again, with driving, there's always patience involved.
I always love the fact that you look at the vintage guys and Davy's crew, and if it starts raining, they're like, oh, great, miserable, the conditions. And you guys over at the Experience that are like, yeah, come on, let's get some mud going. Let's get knee high.
Absolutely. The sunny days.
So all these vehicles are pretty much equipped the same with the terrain response system, even though they're different models.
Absolutely.
They're super capable. And of course, people have been using Land Rovers and Range Rovers all over the world since the 50s to do the same sort of thing. Going back to an aluminum body, because Jaguar's recently got a new aluminum body, but a Land Rover's aluminum now?
A lot of aluminum used, especially in Range Rover and Range Rover Sport. We took a lot of weight from its predecessor, almost 800 pounds out of the vehicle by use of aluminum. So, and that's key off-road. It's much more efficient for on-road, obviously, but off-road we keep that center of gravity down, keep the weight out of the vehicle, so it goes more places.
We actually have a Land Rover in our fleet. We have a 2002 Discovery, which we've completely revamped, and we use it quite regularly to take the dogs out off-road. So definitely one of my fun and more favorite experiences. So the new Range Rover is out there, the one that we've heard so much about over the last couple of years or so, and that has all that new system that basically you had to turn all the factories in England into aluminum factories, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of aluminum used through the entire vehicle. It's really changed the vehicle. I mean, it's always better, quieter, faster, smoother off-road. It's a good place to be. You almost forget you're off-road.
Are you able to build a course out there that really challenges these vehicles, or do you have to tame it down a bit because really, you're trying to get people through it in 20 minutes or 15 minutes rather than get them through in 3 or 4 hours? Because to me, that course looks pretty vicious. I mean, I'm not sure I could walk some of those hills. They're pretty steep, but the car has no problem getting up them, right?
Yeah, having walked it a number of times, it's better to be in the car. So,
right.
I think it shows the capabilities of the vehicle that people don't expect. They see Range Rover at the mall, at the soccer game, and say it's just another SUV. And when they see it out there, they say, wow, we've had a number of Jeep owners come through and say, I wouldn't do this in my Jeep. So,
right.
And it's letting the vehicle do all the work and just exposing people to safe off-road driving and understanding the capability. So it's working really well for us.
I always notice one of the things that's really interesting about Land Rovers themselves is a lot of people don't buy Land Rovers to go off-road. They buy them so they know they can go off-road. They don't actually do it. And it's really about knowing the capability. And this demonstrates all the things that the salesman might tell you at the store, but you don't get to see firsthand, those type of things. So when I get into this vehicle, am I setting the vehicle up with a terrain response for the most aggressive situation it needs to be, or are we dialing it down?
I think it's more the appropriate position for the terrain we're in. So we show people the different features in there and what the change does, and with terrain response, how it reacts to the terrain. Most aggressive, every system's set up for that. It's smart enough to realize, hey, this is getting tricky, let me get a little better. So it's more appropriate than most aggressive as we get out there.
Now, the terrain response, of course, was the really original idea of being able to set the car up to deal with surfaces that you're about to go through. And that includes, is it sand, snow, mud, and ruts?
Yeah, grass, gravel, snow. So think of that as a very slippery condition. Mud and ruts, which we tend to use out here quite a bit for this track. Sand. And we have rock crawl, which we're a little shy on rocks out there, but we did use it in some of the muddy sections to get that extra bite and extra level of aggressiveness in the vehicle. So
I will tell anybody it's a fun thing to do. And one of the things I should just point out that a lot of people don't know is one of the hardest surfaces to drive on absolutely is wet grass. And Land Rover were one of the first people to actually master doing that, so your wheels didn't spin out and you didn't chew up somebody's lawn when you went on it, to actually start slow enough that it doesn't peel up the wet grass.
Absolutely, and that's where a lot of these vehicles are used in that situation quite a bit. So that was certainly a priority for the terrain response system to include that.
We are giving you the opportunity to get out there and try these vehicles. If you want to try the Jaguar F-Type and put it on the autocross with Davey and his crew, or with Bob's crew, you want to get on and try the all-wheel drive Land Rover, Range Rover products, go to those vintage races. You need to get there early. You need to sign up, and those guys will show you something that you will walk away with a smile on your face. Thank you guys for coming in. We always thank you for being part of the show. When we come back, we're going to point out a local shop, a local repair shop, Tigard SUV Automotive Repair Shop, who have a lot of interesting features. We're going to talk about some of the things that you may overlook when you get your vehicle serviced. This is Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101.
Live from our studios downtown Portland on a Sunday morning, this is America's Car Radio Show. We'd like to thank you for being part of the Car Nation. For more fun facts about cars, go to our Facebook page, Test Miles Entertainment, ENT.
In 1935, the SS Jaguar nameplate first appeared on a 2.5 saloon and sports models.
All right. Excellent. First time we've ever seen that. Let's talk a little bit about things we like to recommend here at Test Miles. We always like to tell you about top-notch service places that you can take your vehicle. And, of course, today is no exception. Tigard SUV and Automotive Repair are a local shop. You will find them at 12394 Southwest Shoals Ferry Road in Tigard, 97222, or on the web at tigardsuv.com. And Dan is here. Dan, thanks for coming in to talk to us about the shop. One of the things I want to set straight right at the beginning is you do a lot more than service SUVs, don't you?
That's correct. We work on all cars, trucks, and SUVs. Foreign and domestic.
How did that start? So you started with SUVs, and then some people twisted your arm pretty hard?
Pretty much, yeah. They liked what we did, so they asked if we could work on their other cars. Most people have a SUV, and they probably have a car. They have a truck. The car, their daughter has a car, son has a car. So we started working on those, and it kind of just morphed into we work on everything now.
Now, of course, I'm somewhat of an SUV lover myself. I do have a nice stock of Land Rovers, and I have a Durango in the driveway too. So clearly, if you have an SUV, it's a good place to head to get that serviced as well. But what are your specialties apart from SUVs? Because I look at your website, and you've got some pretty cool niche specialties.
Right. We have a guy who's a big mini guy, and he's taken a lot of mini classes, factory classes, and he loves minis. And so we have a lot of those come in. He's part of the mini club. A lot of those people come in. I used to do a lot of Subarus, so I still work on those, and along with the trucks and SUVs.
That's endless work in Oregon if you do Subarus, right?
Yeah, they have a couple of issues, but they're really pretty good cars, and they're fun to work on, and they're really reliable, and they're great in the snow, so people love them.
Right, and then you also do classic cars as well.
Right, I own a couple classics, and I kind of like working on them. They're a lot simpler, and
right.
It's just kind of fun to test drive them too.
Right,
if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. There's probably no place to plug a computer in some of these classic cars, right?
No, you can. A lot of them are getting retrofitted with computer controlled electronic fuel injection, which is kind of fun to do. But most purists just want the carburetor and the headers, and they just want to get the pure feeling of driving without any kind of controls or any distractions.
Then those are pretty good niche markets there to have, as well as being able to service pretty much everything. If you need somebody who really knows a Subaru or knows a Mini or knows a classic car or can help you with that, that's a great place to go. What about parts for classic cars? I'm thinking, some of these parts can't be readily available.
There are some parts that you can't get, and I can make a few parts, but you've got the whole world to look for parts. Anymore, you can go on the internet and find just about anything you need. New, someone's going to remanufacture it, or someone's going to have something in a wrecking yard someplace in the country or in the world that'll help you out.
Is it a little bit like a detective hunt for you sometimes to try and find parts?
It can be. It's taken me a couple days to find parts, but I can usually find them. I've never been stumped yet.
All right. Oh, that sounds like a challenge.
It is a bit.
Someone's not going to try and bring you something that you won't be able to find parts for. A few things that I do think they're great. You also do this free 25-point courtesy inspection. Now, is that for everybody that comes to the door?
Anybody that comes in the door gets that inspection. I don't want somebody leaving the shop with a problem just because I was too busy to look at their car. But I want to look it over, make sure it's safe, that they're not going to have a problem in the future. And we bring it to their attention, and they can decide whatever they want to do at that point. But I don't want someone leaving with brakes failing or a hose ready to blow up or something ready to fall off the car.
Now, one of the things that bugs me a lot about service shops, I got caught out with this in the past, is you take a car in there and it's like 3 weeks before they can get to it and you can't drive it, but you try and do most of your repairs the same day too, don't you?
Right. I realize there's more than just a car there. There's a family behind that car, and they have things to do. They have places to go. They need stuff to get done. They have stuff that you have to get done. So right. They need that car, and I try to get that car back to them as soon as possible.
That, to me, is worth $1 million right there. Is being without your car is debilitating for a lot of us, but you also try and help somebody with a ride or a loaner or whatever you can do to try and keep them on the road, right?
Right. I have several loaner cars, and they're free. You just replace the gas you use, and that usually, you can just see their expression change when you tell them, I can get you a loaner car. Like, oh, you just made my day.
Right.
Now I can go do what I had planned for the day.
Right. I mean, a lot of us have cars that, if you're using it to get to and from work, take the kids to school, those type of things, you can't afford to be without it as well. 18 months, 18,000-mile warranty. Now, is that on everything, or is that just for specific products that you do?
That is everything we do, parts and labor. That covers it. And I'm flexible.
Again, another sold item, because I can tell you how many times you have to go back to a mechanic because they didn't quite get it right the first time. So.
Right, or a part fails. You just never know. And like I was saying, I'm flexible. If you're 1 day out of warranty, I'll work with you. I realize that everything isn't always black and white. There's some gray area there.
I think you're going to have a whole bunch of new customers, by the way. Let's talk a little bit about your idea of giving detailed estimates prior to making, a decision. One of the things I really liked about your website at Tiger SUV is that you have, I would guess, animations of some engine parts. And that's something that a lot of people don't have. So you can show people a part and show them what's wrong with it a lot of times.
Right. We can you can go on there, and it's called Virtual Vehicle MD. It shows pretty much the whole car, the brakes, the transmission, engine. It'll show how things work. It has cutaway views, and when things break, it'll show you the damage that can happen. And it just helps people understand how their car works, and then they can understand why it needs the repair it needs.
Perfect. Dan, thank you so much for being here from Tigert SUV. Go to tigertsuv.com. You can also find them on Charles Ferry Road in Tigert at 12394. There's a lot of good information there, my friend, and I think Subaru Mini people, SUV people, and people who haven't had good experiences are going to be queuing up at your door come the next couple of weeks. You're listening to Test Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Next week, we will be back with another great show live from the Concours d'Elegance, but until then, you can listen to Test Miles 24/7 at testmiles.com. I'm Nick Miles.